Guys, welcome to Toy Insanity, where I collect it so you don't have to. Today is Tech Deck Dude Tuesday. I've got no new packages of Generation 5 Tech Deck Dudes to open, so I thought what I'd do is give kind of an overview of the 4 generations that came before, maybe even point out a couple oddball figures. So what I got before me, this is, I don't know, maybe 1/10 of my total collection of Tech Deck Dudes. These are just kind of ones that I've gotten recently. So I'm going to see what I can point out, see if I can remember names, and like I said, give you an overview. Series 1, Series 2, I'm saying it wrong. Generation 1, Generation 2, Generation 3, Generation 4, bringing you up to date with Generation 5, which is the 2018 figures from Spin Master. So, Generation 1 began in the year 2000. Here's an example of a Generation 1 Style 1 figure. This is Lenny. The very first figures that came out in the year 2000, they did not have magnets, and they plugged into skateboards that did not even roll. Still considering Generation 1, they quickly, from 2001 to 2003, revamped their figures by adding magnets to their feet, and got a bunch of junk boards and adding magnets to the boards. This became the core gimmick of the toy line in Generation 1, which was phased out in 2003. Was a board with a ferrous metal strip and magnets on their feet. So just kind of show you some of the characters I've picked up recently. This purple version of Brad, it's extremely rare. This is one of the Hot Feet version of Brad. Hot Feet was a subset they did in Generation 1, where this is probably not going to light up, but the boards were magnetic, they rolled, and they also had LED lights in them. The magnets in the feet would complete the circuit, and they would turn on the light if the batteries were fresh. Let's see, Rusty, Ratmaster Thumb, Frank, Petey, and the other gimmick with Hot Feet was, let's see, I think this is the only example. Well, no, these both would have been Hot Feet. They kind of had fluorescent, kind of like wild color schemes. Let's see. Bull was the Indian. Sludge was the heavy metal guy. Nick was the ninja. There were 12 dudettes. They all came out within Generation 1. This is a variant of Andy. This is Laverne, Yoko, and this is Helen. Those are the 4 examples I have here. I can never remember. Mort, Minga, and Manga are the 3 robots. They started out as Gundam-style robots in Generation 1, and then in Generation 3 they became Transformer-style robots. And there is a 4th robot. I always remember the 4th one. That's Tech. And I was going to go and jump to G3 over here and show you Tech, but I don't see him. But the other 2, Mort, Ming, and Manga, I was kind of getting confused. Let's see, Rick's the scuba diver, Barney's the cop, Ace is the pilot. He's a World War I pilot in Generation 1. In Generation 3, he became more of a Top Gun style pilot. Also, to go ahead and point out, Tech Deck Dudes are fingers. They're fingers that ride fingerboards. Fingers that ride fingerboards. Tech Deck Dudes, Generation 1 through 4, all have fingernails on the back of their head. You can even see it in Brad here. You can see it in Frank. You can see it on almost all of them, unless they have long hair. Even ones like Bull, you can see it peeking through his headdress. Ralph's a good example. Like I'm saying, usually a lot of the ones that wear hats, you can still see the fingernail. couple names like Frank and Finger, Rapmaster Thumb. They kind of get the finger pun in the name. Generation 2 in 2003, they revamped the dudes. I'll show you a great example. Here's Generation 1 Lenny. Here's 2 Generation 1 Lennies. No arms. Generation 2 Lenny. Arms. Generation 2 is defined. As you can see, this is even the same mold. They literally just added arms. So Generation 1 is defined by no arms. Generation 2 is defined by arms that cannot be bent or posed. There is no metal wire inside any of the Generation 2 figures' arms. So I'll give you a bunch of examples here. I always confuse the 2 surfers. Sven is one of them. Fletcher. This guy's Fletcher. Fletcher's the other one. Dakota. This is an example of Billy. You can see they have static poses. The arms cannot be bent or moved at all. This is Pierce, another example of the just added arms. Eddie, Barney, here's another one I can show you right away. G1 Barney, G2 Barney. So here you see the club and the donut are pressed right against his side. Here he has arms and hands. The fingers have fingers, I like to say. Let's see, here's Norman, Sumo-san, Dirk. Dirk is one of the figures that debuted in Generation 2. So I'll show you an example of, let's go ahead and jump to here. Generation 2 Dirk versus Generation 3 Dirk. Difference is, they started adding wires inside the arms. So this Generation 2, like I said, Dirk, he's kind of a parody of the guys from Spinal Tap, who are kind of a parody of Lemmy from Motorhead anyway. So he's like this cool bass player. These cannot be bent or posed or moved. And then in Generation 3, it's essentially the same mold, but you can move and pose the arms. Show you a couple more. Again, you can see all the variants. There's a blue Barney, a black Barney, Blaze, Snake. This is Dr. Digit, Mick Shank. Mick Shank will become a totally different figure, just called Shank in Generation 3. Here was another good example of a comparison. Generation 1 Rusty, Generation 2 Rusty. He gets a whole new mold in Generation 3. Another great example is Sludge here. No arms, Generation 1. Arms, doing the sign of the horns, the heavy metal sign. Doc, Booger, Crash. We got Mark. Mark is another one that debuted in Generation 2. Here's a different version of Billy. Tech is a good one. This one has his top piece torn. But Tech, the G3 mold's exactly the same. It just has wires that this G2 example did not. So let's check out G3. G3 is the heyday of Tech Deck dudes. From 2004 until 2008. There's more Generation 3 dudes than any other. And they had they had like the Special Ops series, the Scuba Squad. They had a lot of magnetic accessories within the series. What's his name? I think his name's Jimmy. So he debuted in Generation 2. The Generation 3 figure has bendy arms. You got Jack. Again, notice Generation 2 and Generation 3, they still have the fingernails. Billy became a bare-knuckle boxer. Turbo. This is what Rapmaster Thumb now looks like. Ronan. Flake. Dave. Cosmo, Donnie, Zobo. What was the Arnold Schwarzenegger parody's name? Is it just Arnie? I think it's just Arnie. Got Ace, Cheeto, number 100. This is Cheeto Arellano. I think is how you Arellano. This is the primary designer of the Tech Deck dudes from all the X-Concept days up until, I guess, around 2007, 2008 when they were bought out by Spin Master. So he put himself in the toy line. It's pretty cool. There's a couple other designers in the toy line. I can never really remember their names. But Cheeto, being number 100, easy to remember. Gorgo's a little Sasquatch parody. Here's a couple versions of Adam. In Generation 1, Adam was a Batman parody, like Adam West. And then, I believe there was some conflict with the likeness to Batman, DC. So they changed Adam to this zombie. He's pretty cool. Another really significant thing with Generation 3 are the Zoods. Zood is like taking the word zoo plus dude, a portmanteau, and I usually can't remember their names. I think his name is Fresh. No, Fresh is the skunk. Yeah. I never remember the Zood's names, but this is the Zood of Booger. He should be in here too. There's the G3 Mark. I'll throw that G2 back over here if I see it. So yeah, G2 Mark, arms can't bend. G3 Mark, arms can bend. Who else we got? Henry, Bernie, there's Tech, John. Here's another Zood. This is the Zood of Rick. This is the Zood of Cluckers. So like I'm saying, they're just little pets. They're companion figures. The boards that came with the Zoods look like this. They're longer. So that's Mr. Dell. He's the monkey Zood of Chic, who is the mime. I'm trying to see one real quick. Just to be consistent, I'll put them both on the same board. Well, I don't see Chic. There's Chic. Boom, boom. So that was a part of G3. You get the character and the Zood. Some good ones: Petey, Snake, Sid, Chewie. The new spokesperson near the end of G3 was what's his name? Clobber, who's a parody of Mr. T and his character Clubber Lang from the Rocky movies. And also he came with the Vanformer, which is a parody of B.A. Baracks' car in the A-Team, also played by Mr. T. Whiplash, John, Thunder. Here's an example, Brad now, with arms. There's the Booger that has the Zood. The Zood's a little parody of Ratfink. Pretty hard to come by. LA Rock, Theodore, bunch of versions of the alien. His name is Roz. You got the baseball player is Homer. The football player is Scott. This is what Lenny looks like in G3. Now, I don't have many examples here, but G4, when Spin Master bought the rights to all the Tech-Deck dudes, they took away the magnets. Here's two examples of G4. They took the magnets out, I guess because they were falling out, maybe kids were choking on them, and probably they were just more expensive to produce, to put magnets in every figure and put a ferrous strip on every board. And another thing about the G4 is they have these holes in their back too, so they plug into the board on their feet, or they can carry the board on their back. So this was Mood. He's a parody of Dr. Doom when the Fantastic Four movies came out. This is coin. Again, you can see plug feet, plug back, no magnets. Coin is a parody of 007, James Bond. Going to be wrapping this up, but just to give you an overview of some of the other things. Flame Boy and Wet Willie are Tech Deck dudes. They were in a series called I can't remember what they're called, but it was just the mascots from World Industries, Blind. There's the Thugsta, I think is his name. And then they did two other really cool series that these are in the creatures are in the numbering system. So this, I believe his name is Rage, and I think he might even be number 101. Rage, Thulu, Sea Beast, Slither, and then the other series was the Grim Dudes. So this guy was called Peter Rottentail. The Grim Dudes are not in the numbering system, but they're kind of parodies of fairy tales and fables. Series 2 is a lot harder to find than Series 1. This is the Big Rad Wolf. Like I said, Peter Rottentail. And the only Series 2 example I have right here, right now, is Tweedledee-Dum, which is like a two-headed mashup of Tweedledee and Tweedledum from Alice in Wonderland. And G3 had an Alice in Wonderland guy too. I don't see him here. But anyway, it's Matt Hatter. Let's see if I can remember a couple more names. This is the Dude. This is Shanks, parody of the Dude from The Big Lebowski. DJ, I think his name is Fuse. This guy's name is Julio. Here, this is Moto. I think the RoboCop parody's name is Fred. There's a Hawk Hogan parody. His name is Slam. There's one of the variants of Roz. And here I'll give you another example. This is Norman. He's kind of a Norman Bates, Psycho, Jason Voorhees mashup. Very similar figures here. G2 figure. The arms are in this pose. They cannot move, cannot be bent. The G3 figures, arms are completely posable. Now, throw this reminder at you one more time. G1, G2, G3, and G4 have fingernails on their heads. Let me go ahead and throw you the new figures. G5 2018 Spin Master Tech Deck Dudes are no longer fingers in any way, shape, or form. There is no fingernail on Smash Out here. And again, I'm sure everybody already knows, but there's your size difference between the tall one was consistent. It's about 2.5 inches. G1, G2, G3, and G4, G5, they're now tiny dudes, no magnets, no bendable arms, none of the same names, none of the same characters, and not even fingernails. Kind of crazy, kind of unbelievable. They didn't at least maintain that consistency. Well, this has been an overview of the history of the Tech Deck Dudes toy line, one of my absolute all-time favorite toy lines. And there's still several I'm looking for. I've been at it for a few years now. Pretty close to having them all. I think there's probably 10 to 15 that I'm definitely still looking for. Among all these that I've shown off here, the most recent and very hard to acquire one was the purple version of Brad. But there he is. Got him. Got him. One that I missed recently that is extremely rare. If you have this guy in black, if you have Roz in black, that's one I'm still looking for. Definitely need to get Roz in black. There's about 3 Zoods I need. Anyway, Tech Deck Dudes, Tech Deck Tuesday, Toy Insanity. I collect it so you don't have to. See you next Tuesday.